What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a review for you. Let's jump into it. All right, everyone. Today we are taking a look at the Kunwu Compadre. Really excited to check this one out. Padre is one of my favorite knives in the collection. I've had it for a few years now, and I just really love that model a bunch. So I was really interested when they decided to come out with the Compadre, which is the compact Padre. Great play on words there, Kunwu. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is I love the build quality on these Kunwu knives. You're getting the same Vanek steel, same titanium frame lock on here with geared titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip with lock bar insert, and Damascus pivot collars with multi-row bearings in the pivot. So the action on here is really buttery smooth. Now, one thing that's different that we'll look at here in a little bit is the blade stock on here is a little bit thinner than it is on the full-size Padre, making this one even more slicey. Lock bar access is really good on here. They have it scalloped so that you can get into there very easily, and it's looking at it like it's locked up at about 30%. If you wanted to argue 40, I wouldn't debate you on that. So disengagement is very easy. Even with my large hands, I'm able to use a multitude of means for the disengagement depending on what preferred method you have for the disengagement. Now, one thing I'm going to cover really quickly while we're here that I just remembered is you got to be a little cautious with disengaging it if you're going to let it free fall, because if it does come down quickly, for me with the larger hands, it is hitting right on the back of the nail. So what I've done and I've learned to do if I free fall is I just move that thumb up a little bit more, and what that is doing is it allows the scallop section to fall down to the thumb, and then I can shake it home, or you can just really quickly disengage and move the thumb out. The tension on here is strong enough to where I feel like it slows the blade down and prevents it from dropping quickly. That's probably even closer than I want it to be, because when I pull back, I'm kind of scraping at the nail. So really what I've been doing here is just kind of letting it disengage and using like my thumb to get really close to the carved out piece here on the blade stock, and that slows it down. Otherwise, I just kind of hit it very, very gently and then quickly disengage the lock bar to let it fall. The action on those multi-row bearings, a lot of Kunwus have those multi-row bearings. They're really smooth action. It's really glassy, hard to beat. The multi-row bearings improve the stability on this one here, and I really do like that. If you're interested to see what it looks like, I would encourage you to go check out the disassembly of my Kunwu Padre. This one here is a review sample that I will not be disassembling for this particular video or period, since it's not my property personally. You know, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to check this out, so I don't want to ruin that by doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing with this one. Having said that, I did want to cut with it a little bit just to test it out. I'm pretty early in the pass around on this particular one, so I was grateful for that. When I took the first cut across the paper, the Vanex felt very slicey. I didn't notice any imperfections when I took it through the paper, so I immediately moved to the cardboard and began to slice with it, and it is noticeable. Now, that's not to say that the Padre is not a slicer. It's just that this one is a slicer. It really moved through the material at a very impressive way, I should say. And then because of the way that this clip pointing is done, it's really easy to get to that tip to be able to do some draw cuts and utility cuts. But that is the extent of the performance on this one. When I tested it after on some catalog paper, Vanex holds a very good edge. It's a very high performance steel, you know, so it's sliced right on through that. But I think shortening the profile on this one, making it smaller. Now, I know they say compact Padre, so Compadre, but it is significantly smaller. to say the least. So having said that, let's go ahead and kick it off with a couple of size comparisons for you guys. All right, so first on the table, we have the Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight, which I consider to be a full-size knife. And as you can see, the Compadre is smaller, but I also have the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight. And in all honesty, the Para 3 Lightweight is actually slightly longer, ever so slightly. I don't think the Applied Weapon Tech scales are a factor with that, but I have just a little, like a hair more on the blade length, and then I have just I'm trying to move my hand back so that I can, you know what would probably be better for this is actually bringing out the ruler today. So here you can see I have just a skosh, and I mean it's barely noticeable that I have just a little bit more on the tip there with the Para 3 Lightweight, and then with the scale itself just a little bit more length overall. And then if you want to do measurement, we're looking at, I'm going to call it 7.3 inches on the Para 3 Lightweight, and then going nose to end, we're coming in at just, hold on, there we go, just under, like, I mean, ever so slightly under 7.3, but it's really, really close. All right, so we're going to move these out of the way, and we're going to bring a couple more over. All right, so I have the actual full-size Padre out here, and you can tell there's a significant difference between these two models on the table as far as size and girth. But the one that I thought would be really interesting to take a look at is actually the Growler V2. The Growler V2 is kind of where I had hoped that the Compadre would actually fall in as far as size, because it is a reduction in size from the original Padre, but the Compadre is actually smaller than the Growler V2, and that's when I'll be honest with you, that's what I really had hoped, that it would come in as far as size comparison as the Growler V2. To me, that is the perfect size. I'm able to still get a full 4-finger grip on there, which I really do like a lot. Let's go ahead and do some profile comparisons, and then we'll weigh it out. All right, so I did want to bring the Padre back out here because I thought this would be a good way to show you guys, if you have a Padre, how it compares, or if you've handled the Padre and felt like it was way too big for you, just how much smaller the Compadre is. So when closed with the geared back spacer sticking out a little bit and that flipper tab sticking out, it does have a little bit more length than the Para 3 Lightweight does, but obviously it's significantly smaller than the original Padre. And then what I'd like to do for you all is I would like to go ahead and bring out the Growler V2, because again, I think this is a really good comparison. You can see, even though while open, the Growler V2 is a little bit bigger, you can see that it actually folded up takes up a little bit less space in pocket, so it's actually very, very much comparable to that Para 3 Lightweight. Let's look at the thickness too, because I think this is where it really shines. Just to show you, I'm gonna compare it against the Para 3 Lightweight, which it is, looking at it to the naked eye, very comparable to the Para 3 Lightweight. We'll check it out against the Growler V2. So those are coming in identical as well. And then what I think a lot of people don't realize with the actual full-size Padre is it's going to be hard to, let me do it this way. It's going to be hard to show, but it's only slightly thinner overall than the actual full-size Padre. So the full-size Padre, even though it is a larger knife and it is girthy, it actually doesn't have a lot of thickness to it, so it actually fits and nestles into the hand really nicely. So larger hands, you're going to really like the Padre. I think medium hands are going to be more into the Compadre. But let's grab the scale and check the weight on this one. All right, we got the trusty dusty scale out here. Let's go ahead and check the weight on this. And we'll do some comparison weights too for you guys. So coming in at 3.9 ounces. How does that compare against the original? So 3.9 versus 5.3. So a lot of weight reduction there. You're coming in at under 4 ounces, which is really, really nice. The Para 3 Lightweight, I think, is 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. So king of the weight there. And then I think this is also around 3.5. Yeah, 3.6 versus 3.9, and you have steel inlays in here nested on both sides for strength, with titanium backspacer, titanium hardware, and carbon fiber. And here you have all titanium. So really good job on the weight here. Let's go ahead and get the scale out of the way and we'll wrap it up. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to go ahead and score it, and then I'll break down why I scored it where I'm at with it. So the way my scale works is budget knives cap at 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, and that is because materials will get you up over that 7 score as far as being able to get up there, and everything that goes into it is price point, materials, fit, finish, performance, and what you're getting for your money. Like there's the factors that go into this are very consistent across the board. For me, I think the Padre for me is an 8.2. I think it's the highest score I've ever given out on the channel. I think the Devo Tallboy was like an 8.1. So those are like the two highest rated knives that I've ever given on as far as score. This one here is a 7.8 for me. How I landed on the 7.8 are a couple of things. So I'm going to go to the pros first. I love the fact that you're, very competitive on price point, which I do want to show you real quick. So I'm going to share my screen before we go any further. So if you're looking at it here, the original Padre is coming in at $299 for the stonewashed and the satin version. For the Compadre, they took it down a little bit to $279, so about $20 less for either of those same versions. Since we have the satin here, let's go ahead and jump into that. So some of the things that you're looking at here that you're getting is you're getting Vanex at 60 to 62, which is a great heat treat. The blade length coming in at 2.95 inches, so it is getting you under that 3-inch mark. I think if they would have hit it right at 3 inches or maybe even 3.1, this would have been better for me on the score, which we'll circle back to in just a second. Overall length just over 7 inches, and it looked a little bit more than 7.08 from what I saw on my ruler, but we'll go with theirs. It came in at, what did I say, 3.9, so they're coming at 3.91. So really nice stuff here that you're getting for that. I don't see the blade thickness anywhere. There we go. So 3.2, just out of curiosity, I want to look at it. So 3.2 on the Compadre. On the actual Padre, the blade thickness 3.72. So 3.2, right, versus 3.72. Isn't that what I said? Let me go back and double check. 3.72. 3.2. So they did reduce the thickness by quite a lot. So let's bring it back to the table here. And let's finish talking about this one. All right, so the things that I like, you're getting... Now, let me back up a little bit first. I know some people are going to say the knife is smaller, so why isn't it a little bit more cheaper as opposed to $20 less? So a couple things will go into that, right? You're still using Vanex. That I think is going to be the easiest thing to argue here with folks, is that it is a super steel. It is not a cheap steel to get. It is not a cheap steel to grind down and sharpen. So it takes more time, which costs money. All right, so that's the easiest thing that I can tell you here. Also, in the pivot, you're getting the multi-row bearings, which I think is a big upgrade over most folding knives that you see today. Most folding knives only have single row bearings, more bearings in there. They're a little bit more expensive, so I think that is another factor. You're getting a Timascus pivot collar, adding a little bit to the cost as opposed to just no pivot collar. You're getting diamond texturing on here, which takes time to do. Flat scales, once you've done them, you move on. With this, it takes longer for the machine to make it, and that is another factor that I'll go into it. You're getting jimping and geared back spacers. Again, a little bit more time there. All titanium. I think the pivots on Kunwu's remain steel. Yeah, direct contact, and the hardware is titanium. Yeah, I think the barrel is what my magnet is picking up, but I'm fairly confident that the hardware is titanium, and then the barrels I think are steel. I know that the pivot hardware is all steel, which is fine by me. Added strength there. Considering this is under $300 for everything that you're getting, especially at $279, just look at like your Wii knives, your Best Tech knives, anything from Rayot. You know, those are going to be comparable, very competitive. I would say Kunwu is a little bit more expensive than your Kaisers and your Concepts that offer like S35 yen and titanium with all steel hardware. So there, you know, you're sacrificing a little bit for a lower quality steel. Not that it's bad, but you know, when you're comparing it to Vanex. So hopefully that makes sense. So where did this fall short for me if I'm giving my Padre an 8.2 and this one here, I am at a 7.8? Well, the big thing for me is going to be the ergos. It's actually just too small for me. So one of the things that I noticed when I was holding it, when I try to hold it, and I'll try to do the Padre in the left hand, when I try to hold it, I like for it to rest somewhere along the inside of the second knuckle and then on the outside, depending on which way you're looking at it, of the other knuckles there. So really comfortable here and kind of like a trigger grip. When I try to do that here, you can see all of my fingers land perfectly where they need to. With this one, I don't land on any of the humps. With the compact Padre, what's happening is I'm landing directly when I want to do that, trying to get my finger as much as I can into that scallop section. I'm landing right on the hump, and then same thing here with the middle finger the middle finger is I'm landing on the second hump, and then the other two land comfortably down there. Like for me to get into a good grip, that's how I have to hold it. I have to actually grip it over those humps, which is why I'm saying personally, I would have either liked for it to be just a little bit longer. I think coming at 3.3 on the blade and then 7.5 inches overall, I think would have been perfect for me to be able to enjoy this along with people with medium hands. Like, I'm not pushing to drive it out of medium hands because I don't think that's fair. I think I would have been able to really enjoy this one if I could have gotten a more comfortable grip. It actually was a little uncomfortable whenever I would go to grip it to cut with it. In order to make it comfortable, I have to get it really tight up to that sharpening choil at the first knuckle, and then I can get into the in-between. So instead of being behind the second knuckle, I'm in front of it, and then the other two can kind of wrap behind it. And even then, because the blade is thinner, it always makes me feel like I'm right up against that sharpened edge, which maybe over time sharpening it, that could happen. Probably could extend it out and not really have an issue with that if it, you know, if I took that much life off, which I don't think I would with this one. So I kind of in this spot where I have like this little bit of void that I'm not really used to there. So that to me was a big dip on the score. But having said that, 7.8 is still a really high score for something that isn't super comfortable and really meant for me to be able to use. So I think this is perfect for medium up to a large hand. I think if you have a large hand, you're probably going to still hit it just a little bit, and you can adjust your grip a little bit to take advantage of that not happening. But what I have found, like I said, when I'm holding the Padre, the full-size Padre, I'm not having to adjust my grip any. This one here, I'm having to adjust it, and you can see when I'm holding this one, if I show you straight up and down, I'm holding it and my hand and my wrist are straight. When I'm holding the Compadre, that's a mouthful for some reason to say it back to back. You can see I'm having my wrist is slightly cantered, and you can see the difference between the two. This wrist is straight, this one's cantered, and that's because I have that void. So I'm trying to pull it up into the palm where I'm making contact on the spine of the handle in order to get there. So I have this slightly cantered hand, whereas with this one I'm straight and I can push power through onto the knife because I'm able to put my full palm onto the back of the spine. So comfort on finger position, and then just feeling a little bit weird there. You know, I would say, having said all of that, this one is to me a capable knife that could be used hard, but due to its size, to me, this would not be a hard use knife. This would be something I'm going to open packages with, do some detailed trace cutting on the tabletop for anything I need to kind of outline or trace, and then that I can choke up really far on to get into packages. But when I go to break down more than maybe 1 or 2 boxes to put it in the recycling, I'm probably not going to grab this one, even though I know that it would. If I'm doing more than 1 or 2, as I said before, I would go for the big guy here, something that's going to be comfortable. I can break down, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes, especially depending on the size. If it's a small package, 3 or 4 of those with this is not going to be bad. But if you're doing something like that, what did I do recently that came in? Oh, the shelf system I put in the garage. It was a big shelf system for the large crates or totes that we put our seasonal items in that my wife has. That was a big box. I wouldn't have used this for that. I would have preferred the comfort on even the growler or the Para 3 lightweight. I would have preferred that comfort a little bit more. This just, to me, I just land in a really bad spot. Anyway, that is a long way of explaining why I still think this is a really solid model, a really solid option. You get a lot for your money with excellent build quality on this. Not a lot to hate on here. You get a little bit less of a banana handle on it because it's shorter too. So I do like that as well. I think that ups the attraction even more. I know a lot of people just do not like the handle on here, but what I'm telling you is this handle, even though a lot of people think it looks a little funky, it's extremely comfortable, and ergos go a long way for me on my scores. I got to be able to feel like that knife is extremely comfortable in the hand and usable. Medium to large hands is where this one's at. If you have large, I honestly would just go for the Padre. Padre is more comfortable in hand, a little bit easier to manipulate. I'm not having to really move around as much. The other thing that I noticed here too is I feel like I don't know if it's because the cutout is further out and larger on the bigger one, but I feel like I've not really often anyway ran into where the back of the blade has hit my finger. So thanks for hanging out. Special shout out to the channel members. You guys are awesome. I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.